opinions expressed by the program participants are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Upscale Love for You. The program participants' opinions are based on the information that they consider from their own knowledge. No expressions or accuracies related to Upscale Love for You.
All right, welcome to Upscale Love for You. This is your host, your favorite first cousin, Bobby G. And hey, we have another great show lined up for you today. Hope everybody's doing well. We want to thank everybody for the text messages, the emails, the phone calls, and asking questions about what is Upscale Love for You. And I'm here to tell you, Upscale Love for You is formatted to entertain, educate, and facilitate self-help, self-love, and everything you want or wish to know about love, relationships, dating, marriage, etc. Upscale Love often uncovers hot topics and sensitive issues, from tales of singledom to parenting struggles and everything in between. So whether you're actively seeking direction, or looking for ways to pass the time, or just looking for a good conversation, Upscale Love for You is here. And now I would like to introduce the people that is making this possible. The founder, the creator, the one, the only, Dr. Fabulous, Miss Marielle Bacon. Come on and talk to us tonight. How you doing?
Good evening, everyone. I just want to wish everyone a St. Patty's Day if you're down here in Savannah and that good stuff. Go on and enjoy yourself. I never go, but anyway, enjoy yourself if you are here. And I want to do a shout out to my online Friday night boo shankalankalankalank. Nobody other than Jack Evans. His birthday is tomorrow, and hopefully we'll get a chance to do something real special. So if you're listening, Jack, I sent one out for you, and thank you everyone for coming on.
Dr. Fabulous, now down in Savannah, that's where they dyed the river green. They turned the color of the river green. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No, really, that's from the puke from all them people drinking that beer.
Okay. All right. So I'm quite sure that's a pretty festive thing to look at. Go down there on, is it called River Street?
Yes.
It's down on River Street in Savannah. All right, next. My brother from another mother with the voice like no other, Dr. Feelgood. Come on and talk to us.
Hey, ladies and gents, this is Dr. Feelgood. Usually I say the man with the golden voice, the lady's choice and smooth as a Rolls Royce, but this time I'm going to say the mind of an intellect, the heart of a warrior, and the libido of an adult entertainer. Nobody can say it plainer, and I'm doing my thing, and I want y'all to swing. Because somebody please, please mute their mic so I can get in my video studio stuff. First of all, I want to thank my fellow co-hosts, which only thing is Upscale Love for You. We got our app coming out in the near future. Watch for it. It's not only going to be a dating app, it's a networking app. So you can go find people of like minds and because like great minds think alike. We also not only do this wonderful show with the Upscale for Love for You network, we also have our individual efforts with our host, Dr. Fabulous, on Friday nights with the Mr. Razzle Dazzle, Mr. Malik, on Score Bigger Dating for scorebiggerdating.com, Friday nights at 8:30. Not the same bat time, but it's an exciting show. We also have on Mondays, we have our favorite first cousins, Bobby G's Break Room, where you get commentary on not only on everything, he talks about every and anything. And go over there. It's a good show. He salutes the troops. He supports the troops. And hey, he brought back some memories of
what are you doing?
And back to you, first cousin.
All right. I see we are fired up for this show tonight. What are you doing? Okay. I'm here to watch the show. I'm here to have a good time. So a couple of housekeeping notes we want to go ahead and address. If you have a question or if there's a comment that you want to respond to, we ask that you go down to your toolbar at the bottom in the reactions and ask that you raise your hand so we can call on you. We're asking that we keep this a family-friendly show, so please let's monitor our vocabulary and our language. We don't want to be offensive to anyone. And we are also saying that when you get the opportunity, check us out on YouTube, Upscale Love for You. It's all one word, Upscale Love, the number 4, the letter U, on YouTube. And also, you can also check out Dr. Fabulous on Friday nights along with Mr. Malik and scorebiggerdating.com, but we'll give them that plug at the end of the show. Today, we are talking about a topic that some people don't want to talk about. We'll talk about some things that may make people feel uncomfortable, so we want to give you that warning up front. And the topic is abuse in a relationship. Abuse in relationships. Now, as we know, there are many forms of abuse. You have verbal abuse, you have physical abuse, you have psychological abuse. There are various forms of abuse, and there's different definitions of what is considered abuse. So we want to hear from the listening audience about abuse. So the question is, have you ever been a victim of abuse? Dr. Fallis, we're going to start with you.
Now, no, I've never had that situation to occur. I have known individuals who have, however, not myself personally. That's no, I have not.
You have
But
not.
I have not.
Okay. Okay. Well,
That's all I can give you.
that's all. Okay, and that's fine. And that's fine. We're
Mhm.
not saying that every person is going to experience that, but according to the census that's put out, and Dr. Feelgood is going to give us a very good rundown on the percentage of people that's considered, male to female ratio as far as abuse. But it appears that most women are the first to talk about abuse. And it appears that the men, if they are abused, they don't want to tell anyone because it emasculates them. So Chocolate Pearl, how are you this evening, darling?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you so much for joining us here on Upscale Love for You. Can you tell us anything about abuse? Have you ever been abused in any way, shape, or form?
We can't cuss on here, so HELL hockey stick, no.
Okay. Okay. No
but
okay.
I've actually, my parents, when we grew up, my parents were abused, were abusive to each other. My dad used to beat on my mother, to the point where my brother and I stood up to our father at one point, and it wasn't a good scenario. It wasn't a good situation, to where I feel us children had to get involved so my father wouldn't kill my mother, type thing, for us to have to go through that. Back in those days, and it's still happening now, but back there, it's like you didn't get involved like people are doing now,
right?
But my brother and I, we stood our ground, and we was like, okay, we're not going to do this anymore. We're not going to go through this anymore. To the point where my father got so scared of my brother that he ran to his mother.
Oh wow!
Okay. Yeah. So because we both stood up to him.
Our grandmother was no joke.
Okay. She was enforcing.
She was one of them old Southern grandmothers. And
gotcha.
Hey,
she didn't play.
She ain't played. She ain't played.
Okay.
She had grown men and grown women like, yes, ma'am. No, ma'am.
I get it. But Chocolate Pearl, let me ask this question. You said your brother was the one that kind of go after, not to say go after, but kind of stand up for your mom. Was he, what age was he? Around 15, 16?
I'll be honest with you, I can't quite remember, but I might have been maybe 12, 13.
Yeah, it's about 15, 16.
About 15. And the reason I say that is because the statistics show, especially with young men, we always get to a point where we're kind of feeling ourselves a little bit. We've reached puberty. We got a little hair on our chest, a little fuzz on in our area. And we feel that at some point in time, we can kind of swell up at our fathers. At some point in time, we always kind of test that water just to see what it's like.
No, Doc, first cousin. No, I used the baseball bat.
Okay, but let me finish this point. We get to that point where we feel like we can test our old man just to see if he can put us in place or not. But then when you add a situation, say for instance, like abuse to the scenario, then that would make it even more hyper, where he can say, okay, I'm going to attack dad. I'm going to stop dad from beating on mom.
Well,
does that make sense?
One thing, yeah, it does make sense. But one thing he did was he still respected my father. It's just that, and it was always fights before, but it was just that point that my brother and I felt that my mother was in danger, because this man picked up a branch and hit my mother across the head.
Oh wow. Okay.
So
he kicked the door in too. Don't forget that time to kick the door in.
And so at that point, we had to step in some type of way, because if we didn't, my mother would have died. Wow. So, when you get to that point where you're trying to still respect your parents, and stay in your place. But then it comes a point where you can no longer stay in your place. You got to, you know, fight for what's right. And we had to fight for our mother's life.
All right. All right. I want to make this disclaimer. Mr. Bill, Burton Bill, how are you, sir? You're on mute.
I'm great. I'm doing great.
Okay, I can't help but notice you seem like you're rolling up something there, so I just want to make sure.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, we.
Hey,
it seems like you're rolling up one of them bad boys, so be careful because we're going to be seen by people all over the nation. So.
oh, I'm sorry. Well, that just looked like something. It wasn't though.
Okay.
We gonna say that.
I get you. I just saw you. You know, you was.
But
hey.
The incident that they speaking of, I actually remember that.
Okay.
I remember that, and it was definitely out of necessity.
I understand.
That you know, it wasn't you know, son testing his dad situation.
Right.
You know, because Andre wasn't brought up like that. And I mean, listen, we used to get it. You know what I mean? Like, so that was, you know, so out of us getting it, it was a certain amount of respect that we always had. You know, that was like, that was something that had to happen, you know? And me for one, I'm glad that they was there, you know? I'm glad that they was there and they did what they did. You know what I'm saying?
I understand.
For sure.
Okay. Miss Matthews, Tina Matthews, are you with us? All right, come on, Dr. Feelgood, come on and talk to me. What are your thoughts about victims of abuse? Have you ever been a victim of abuse or know anyone that has gone through that situation?
Well, nothing Chocolate Pearl already said, but there was mitigating factors behind that. You know, they both had substance issues. This was the 70s and early 80s. And what went on in your house stayed in your house. But we knew a lot of people. We didn't really know a lot of people. We knew stuff was going on because our next door neighbors on 12th Street. You remember when Big Don Black? You remember when Big Don's dad killed her mom?
Yeah. Hey, but Dre, if you remember correctly, in those days we was fully versed in the drug trade because as I was getting versed, I never kept it away from you.
Right.
I never kept it away from you. You know what I mean? When I was in it, we always talked. You never got in it, but you knew what it was. Yeah. But abuse though, you know, but we saw so much of it that we didn't even, you know, it was nothing. Kids, it was regular.
Right. Our kids didn't even go through
that. That's the thing about it. Now it's something that you could talk about on a show like this or on a radio show. But back in the days, you didn't have the outlets, to talk about it. People who got abused just got abused and smiled when you seen them with their kids and, you know, things like, even if you knew it was happening, you know what I mean? When you seen them in the street, they never gave you that.
Exactly.
Because that's how it was. It was an in-house thing still.
Yep. You know and it was also a lot of that other type of that touching abuse happened a lot too. You know, when we was little, you know, there were a lot of little girls that would act inappropriate. We just thought it was life. Right. But you ain't know till later, until you understood what was going on, that there were some people touching, but like kind of like we can talk about it now, but we couldn't talk about it back then.
Right.
Especially in living in the projects.
Right.
Everybody knew everybody. I've been out the projects 30-something years, and I still know people, you know, we could go back and still get love because we know we all, you know, we was like one big family, but like it's in all families, you had people that wasn't going to do right, and you knew who not to leave your kids around.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad you made that point, Dr. Feelgood. And when you look at days back in the day when we were growing up, I think in every African American household, it was taught whatever happened in this house, stay in this house.
Mm-hmm.
Go out, don't tell Big Mama, don't tell Little Mama, don't tell nobody, your cousins or nobody. Whatever happened in here, stay in here. But as time has progressed, we've become more educated on how to deal with certain things, and we don't find out till later on in life that Lil Johnny or Lil Pookie had been abused his entire life, and this is why he act the way he act. This is why he may treat women a certain way, or from a woman's perspective, this is why she may never have a steady relationship because she don't know how to correctly deal with or get over the trauma she experienced as a child.
Exactly. There was also, we also noticed financial abuse, but it wasn't as prevalent, and we didn't know it as financial abuse because there were a lot back in the 70s and 80s. There was a lot more traditional households where the father worked, the mother stayed home,
Right.
so she couldn't leave.
Right.
She couldn't leave. So there was
Right.
there was that, but it's like I said, when you're young and you don't know any better, everything seems normal.
Everything seems normal. Absolutely. Ms. Lark, Altricia Lark, how are you this evening?
I'm good.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on Upscale Love for You. We're talking about a touchy subject here, and it's about abuse in relationships. Not from a personal perspective, but do you know of anyone that has experienced any kind of abuse, whether it's emotional abuse, psychological abuse, financial abuse?
Yeah, me, all of them.
You've experienced all of them.
Pretty much.
Okay, if like I say, and if I get too touchy, please say, hey, I don't want to talk about that. But
I'll work through it.
Work through it? Okay, thank you so much for your bravery on this here. Is this something that happened during your childhood or coming up or in a relationship?
Wow. My second husband was all of that. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
But childhood, yeah, sexually abused. I can remember being abused, and I don't even know how old I was. That's just how young it happened. That I didn't even, and it just started coming back to me as an adult.
Okay.
When I started to try to deal with it. But most of the abuse that I experienced was with my second husband. He was very abusive, and it was because he grew up in an abusive home.
Mm-hmm.
And because my parents both grew up in homes with alcoholic fathers who were also abusive,
Mm-hmm.
then their thing was to never be abusive, or to try not to ever be abusive. So I know it, when I try to, kind of unwrap it and look at it from different perspectives, the hardest part for me really wasn't like not talking about it, because I went through, a lot of therapy and stuff like that. But I guess the biggest thing, I felt like, well, the reason why I married him, even though I knew he had abusive tendencies, I said, well, he's not physically hurting me.
Okay.
Right. But I learned that the physical hurting is just as bad, if, I think the emotional abuse was much worse. Like when I tried to leave, he would take all my money out of my account. So financial abuse.
Okay.
When it was always a lot of verbal abuse. Just the whole psychological thing, nobody wants you, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
The isolation, that's a part of that. Your parents, they have too much control over you.
Okay.
Why do you even want to talk to them? They don't like me, so you shouldn't go over there because they don't like me. Who would go over to why would you go to your mom's house and she doesn't like me? Well, I wouldn't like you either if you cussed me out, but
Yeah.
And just the he would like try to take things away all the time. Like when I left him once, he broke into my car and stole my purse. Like,
yeah,
just crazy stuff. But it was because he had been abused as well. And my sister-in-law told me a story. She said that at one time, her husband told her of a time when their dad stripped them of all their clothes and then sent them to her mother's house. So they were out like in the projects naked. And when you think of that, when she told me the story, she said, and you're probably thinking they were like little boys, right? And I was like, yeah, 7, 8, 9. She was like, no, they were 15, 14, and 13, because they were like kind of stair steps.
Okay.
And just the wholeness of that kind of showed me that, hurt people hurt people. That's real. Like hurt people hurt people. And so I'm from a place now where I don't hate him. And that took a little bit, but I don't hate him.
Yeah.
I no longer want to kill him. But I feel really sorry for him. I have, because it must be really hard to have been through all of that.
Right.
And then to try to love somebody or try to be loved by somebody.
Right. One of the things you said earlier, you said that you did go to therapy, through some form of therapy. Can you tell me about that experience, please?
Well, actually, it started out as couples therapy.
Okay.
For us, and then I started just going on my own.
Okay.
So, and it helped me to kind of work through some of the things and see some of the patterns and see where I was. People say that well, she just stayed because she liked it or whatever. Nobody likes getting their ass kicked. I'm sorry. Nobody likes to fight with someone.
Right.
No, nobody likes that, and nobody stays in that situation because they want to. A lot of times they stay in that situation because they feel like they don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I felt like I'm a little stubborn.
I would have never got that. Now, I would have never got that for you, Ms.
I know. I hide it well. But I'm a little stubborn, and so for me, it was I didn't want my parents to be right.
Okay.
So I stayed a lot longer than I would have because I didn't want my parents to be right.
Okay.
And even in the end, when I finally left, I still didn't tell them for maybe about a week or so.
Okay.
Before I told them, say, hey, I left, because I had left before, and and you leave and they pour it on. And I think I talked about this. Like I get flowers at work, and perfume, and expensive gifts, and you think, okay, maybe he's gonna act right this time. Promise I'm gonna act right this time. And then the cycle just continues until finally it's at a point where it's become not just physical abuse or verbal abuse. Now, I mean, not just physical and emotional, it's more of a physical, it becomes physical, very, very physical. And you're at the point, and my mom once told me, she said, I wasn't afraid for him anymore. I mean, for you anymore, I was afraid for him.
Okay.
Because I know my child, and I knew you were getting fed up, and I knew that it was gonna be a matter before you were gonna do something to hurt him. And one day I was on my way to, I had just had enough. I had already left him, and he was still just, poking fun, and she told me, she said, I don't want to have to visit you one weekend in jail and visit your brother the other weekend, because he was already incarcerated. Yeah. And it just, it stopped me dead in my tracks, because as a mother, I didn't want her to feel that.
Yeah.
And that's really what stopped me. But,
well, first we're gonna say thank God for moms, because
amen and amen again.
We may not agree with them, but they have wisdom that we haven't even begun to touch yet. So we're glad. First of all, I want to say thank you for sharing your story with us. It's a very personal, very touching story. And again, we're glad that you're okay. We're glad that you were able to fight through that storm and live a fruitful life. And we do appreciate you sharing that story with us. Today's topic, we're talking about abuse in relationships, and it is a very touchy topic. Some people don't want to have a conversation about it, but there are things that's out there that's happening that I think people should know about. What are some of the signs when you talk about abuse in relationships? Miss Tracy D, how are you this evening?
am wonderful. How are you?
Just fine. Thank you so much for coming back to Upscale Love for You. We're talking about abuse in relationships. We don't want you to get too personal if you don't want to, but we are asking the question, have you been a victim of abuse? Do you know anyone who has been abused in a relationship?
So you know what's funny? I invited my sister Tina Matthews, and she knows I was about to yield to her, but she just disconnected again.
Okay,
but I'll text her.
she has her hand up now. When Miss
there she
Matthews
goes.
first came on, she was yelling at somebody, so she is excited about being on the show. So I think she has something to say.
There we go. So first I'll say, not to the extent where it was a trend in a relationship. I had the "you tried it" guys, like you tried it. So one guy, and my sister can interject in here. One guy called himself trying to control me and tried to hit me with. That's when I'm aging myself with the beepers and stuff. And this probably wasn't the right answer, but I went and got my sister Tina, who's going to talk in a minute, and I hit him back. I'll just say that. So he tried it, and I think when you try it and you allow it, it's like, oh, I can keep doing it. But he just tried it with the wrong girl. So I not a relationship, but I had a "you tried it" guy.
Okay, all right. Well, Miss Tracy, you've established that you are a full-fledged gangster, and we won't be trying you anymore. So we're gonna slide on up to Miss Tina Matthews, because Miss Gangster Tracy, we don't want to cross her path too many times. Miss Matthews, how are you this evening?
I'm not violent.
How y'all doing? So I apologize, one, for yelling in the phone, and two, I had to dip out for a second. But to answer your question, yes, I have been in emotionally and mentally abusive relationships, and part of that stems from being abused as a child, sexually molested, like the sister mentioned earlier. That abuse created a framework of how I viewed myself and how I dealt with life. Mm-hmm. And so for years, I used sex as a way to relate or a way to feel love or imagination or whatever. And as a result, I was in relationships where I was essentially chasing my abuser, or at one period of time, I was essentially looking for my father, the father that left, mm-hmm. the father that wasn't around, the father that cared about other people. And so because I was chasing my father, I found myself over and over again in relationships where I was dealing with men that would not commit to me, would not love me, would not protect me. And it wasn't until, like Dr. Feelgood had asked in the message, I went to therapy, and I had said therapy was painfully freeing because it forced me to dig deep into like your core. And so that's when a lot of repressed memories about being molested as a child by my aunt and by my uncle and just being violated, and it forced me to feel those emotions again and to process through them, to the extent where now, like Tracy said, like there, when he tries it once, that's it. Like I'm no longer willing to bypass or overlook red flags, because I value myself differently now than I did in the past. But the one last thing I'm gonna say, and I'm not gonna take over this whole conversation. I'm in a relationship right now that I would definitely say is abusive, and that's with my daughter. It's a toxic relationship because she manipulates me and takes advantage of the love I have. And it's sad, right? Because I see it, and Gangster Tracy will attest to it. Like you know how you see something, but somewhere in my heart and in my head, I'm hoping, I'm believing one day she's going to change, when she keeps presenting the same behavior. And and I consider it abusive, because not only is it financially draining, but it's emotionally draining, and it's mentally taxing. It makes me make bad choices. I'm taking care of her 3 kids, and it's at the place now where I had to make the decision to cut my daughter off, not let her go, cut her off. Which in and of itself, and this would be the last thing I say, which in and of itself is painful, because that's my daughter and I love her. Yeah. But I'm learning, and Tracy really is like my sounding board for a lot of things. I'm learning. So this is like an active thing. This is not like I haven't arrived. This is a progression. how to place my mental health above my need to mother and parent. Because, you know, most of us sisters, that's instilled in us to parent, take care of everybody, put everybody else's needs. So changing that behavior is very hard. So y'all pray for me, because I love my daughter. I want to see her do better, but she's draining I felt like at one point she was draining the life out of me. So I would definitely say that is an abusive relationship. And thank y'all for listening to my story.
Hey, well, Ms. Matthews, again, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing that story with us. One of the things I learned while living as a middle-aged person, there's two things that really, really drain middle-aged people. First thing is your parents on one end, because they're older and they're probably in their last few years, and you have to take care of them and do this for them. And then on the other end, you have your children that could be pulling you in another direction. So you're in the middle you're the glue that's trying to hold that together. So we're going to applaud you and thank you for, first of all, coming on telling your story. And thank God that you have someone in your corner like Miss Tracy that's there as a sounding board for you. We really do appreciate that. And Miss Tracy, you're not a gangster. I was just saying that. You ain't going to hurt anybody.
You can give me a little gangster. I'll take a little gangster.
A little gangster. Okay. All right.
He's
all right.
gangster-ish.
She's gangster-ish. Okay. All right. She's a studio gangster. Miss Veronica. How are you?
Gangster adjacent, I say.
Miss Veronica, come on and talk to us.
Yeah, so, you know, just listening to, I guess, the ladies on here speak, I just wanted to kind of mention, although some folks I think are strong enough to, like Tracy, to fight back and you know, defend yourself, for those who may not be as strong or as confident or even have the understanding on how to do that, that doesn't necessarily make you weak. You know, I think it's a situation that everyone has to kind of go through on their own. I've not personally dealt with it, but I think it's, you know, it takes a strong person to come out of that with the sane mind, you know, and so however you get there, whether it's fighting back, whether it's being clever and kind of waiting for the right opportunity, or kind of outsmarting your, you know, offender, whoever, I think that you just have to get out and keep your mind intact. And so, you know, whoever can do that, to me, has a strong will and ability to overcome that. You know, emotional abuse is something that I think in the African-American community, we take very lightly. And I think emotional abuse is something that should be talked about more. You know, it's not normal to be in relationships where, you know, you're being cursed out, or, you know, we always think it comes with someone punching us in the face, but that's not always the case. You know, when you listen to a lot of the stories here, it's that emotional, financial, you know, mental abuse that's a problem. And so I think once, you know, we all are aware, we can do better when we know better.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Veronica, for that. Ms. Jocelyn, you had your hand raised for a brief second. Are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Good evening, everybody.
Ms. Jocelyn, how are you this evening?
Fine. So I got the text on this topic, and this topic is I don't like victim. I don't even like survivor, but I have experienced emotional and physical abuse. And I can relate to Miss Lark a lot of the times about the isolation. And so I think people think that when you think about emotional or physical abuse, that this is like a lifetime story where you're like bending down, cowering in some kind of corner and somebody's above you. And it's not like that. Right. When I was my ex-husband, it wasn't, oh my God, I think he's gonna come home and try to hit me. It was like, we're gonna battle when he get home. I just don't know if I'm gonna win tonight or he gonna win tonight. And that's how it was. It was literally a fight when we got together. Right. But the isolation part was true to form. I would go to, I think at home was called like Garden Ridge back at the time. And me and my mother would go to Garden Ridge, which has home and lawn yard supplies. And my ex-husband would call like 20 times. Like, what the hell am I doing with my mama out at Garden Ridge? But he would call like 20 times, and then he did not want to go to my parents' house for Sunday dinner. It was that little isolation thing, and none of my friends he liked. So none of them I really wanted to mess with.
It was
And
all
one
hoes. All my friends was hoes. Every last one of them.
yeah, they didn't, and they was jealous and they was hating and all of that. And so, like Miss Lark said, you didn't want your parents to be right. I didn't want to be wrong. Nobody, even my bridesmaids at my wedding, nobody liked my ex-husband. But I had that Whitney and Bobby syndrome. Like, we just gonna make this shit work. We gonna figure it out. We're gonna make it work because I love him and he loved me. And we're gonna do it. But once it's over, and it's truly over, it is such a euphoric feeling. And I'll say this, and because I don't want to monopolize anybody's time.
Okay.
So me and my ex-husband were he got stationed in Alabama, and I never will forget. It was right after Christmas. I had like started to pack certain things out of the house and take them out of the house, so that when I left, it wouldn't be like I was packing a whole bunch of stuff. So I was taking stuff out little by little so that I could leave after Christmas, because who wants to leave during a holiday? You got 2 small children. Right. It just doesn't sit right. So I was waiting. After that, my ex-husband called me at work and said, I heard you're gonna leave. Well, I tell you what, if you leave, you better go straight where you're going, because if you come to this house when you get off work, you're gonna be arrested for trespassing. And so I can't just leave work. So I'm anxious all until it's time to leave. Right. And I leave work, and then it dawned on me, the way to get to me is through my children. Because if you mess with me, I can work with you toe to toe. But if you mess with my children or my parents, it's a whole nother ball game. Right. So I remember going to the DeKalb County Courthouse with a business suit, a flip-flop, and a pump, and some torn up pantyhose, because I had gone to my house and pulled out as much as I could fill my car up with, and went to the courthouse to get a restraining order so he could not go pick up my kids from school. And at that moment, I don't remember going through the metal detector. I don't remember anything. It was in self-preservation mode. But when you get there, it's so enlightening. I mean, it just feels so good to feel like empowering. Like I got control over this, because so many times I did not have control over what was going on. I tried to change the locks, and one of his friends would tell. Then the police would make me give him a key. And the legal system just is not on the side of you if you're not being punched in the face right then. If there's a threat, they can't help you. It has to be imminent. It has to be right there in the face before they can help you. And I said all that to say, like Miss Lark, I get her. I get her with the isolation, and I get her with not wanting to be wrong, because you've loved this person and you hate to be wrong. Like, not only did I marry this dude, but I had his children. Yeah. And I straight made a jacked up mistake. I had really made a mistake with this. But now, and Lavita Russell knows me better than anybody else on here. But Lavita will tell you, the only reason I didn't tell my story is because I've kind of presented myself to be more in control than what I really was at the time. And I never wanted anybody to know that I had been there. Right. But I see it in the faces of other women. And anybody that's gone through it, you know that look. I don't know how to describe it, but you know that look. Right.
Well, this is one of the beauties and benefits of Upscale Love for You. We have grown to be a nice, close-knit family, and we have people on here that we have made connections with and we can have conversations with. In your chat box, you can leave, if you've connected with someone on the panel tonight, you can leave them a personal message in the chat box. Hey girl, give me your number. Let me talk with you one-on-one off screen. You can build that friendship, and maybe you have similar experiences or know someone who's gone through that, and maybe you can be an aid to each other just to have someone to talk with. When I was in the military, we had what was called a buddy. You could not go anywhere without your buddy. If you had to go to the PX to get underwear and toothpaste and stuff, your buddy had to go with you. So you got somebody that can help you through certain situations to make sure that they got your back and build a friendship and a network to get through these particular topics. Okay. Okay. Tonight, people, we're talking about abuse in relationships. I'm going to continue to repeat, it is a touchy subject. It is an area that some people don't want to talk about. We kind of shy away from. And I really wanted to open it up so we can have the conversation and build friendships and relationships. But I haven't really called on the men. Mr. Malik.
Yes, sir.
How you
First
doing, brother?
cuz.
How you doing, brother?
What's up? What's up, man? You know how it is, baby boy.
We've heard a lot from the women, and they've had some amazing stories to tell us about, abuse in relationship.
Correct.
From a male's perspective, have you ever experienced abuse in a relationship? Have you known someone that has gone through some kind of abuse in a relationship from a male's perspective? And now when I say abuse, I'm not saying your lady's not cooking you oxtails on Sunday, you feel like you're being abused.
Right.
You didn't make some fried chicken or pork chops for it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying she come in and slap the hell out you and say, sit down and eat this bologna sandwich.
Right. Thank you, First Cuz, for bringing me in. I've never experienced that, but what I did experience was I started dating a young lady who has been abused. It wasn't me, but she had went through it. And what made me kind of fall in love with her, First Cuz, was her heart. I was so attracted to the heart. She started getting molested at 9 years old, and then the crazy thing about it, First Cuz, it was her sister husband. And what happened was, I never forget what she told me. You know what I'm saying? And I had gained the love for her because she didn't look like what she'd been through. You know what I'm saying? She didn't look like it. And the funny thing with First Cuz was I started being attracted to her from her heart, for her heart. And she was giving, she was caring, she was a caterer. Yeah, man, I love a caterer now. Boy, I tell you, she'll rub my feet 1 foot for 30 minutes. I love that boy. And the thing about her, First Cuz, is she fell in love with the abuser.
Wow.
She fell in love with her sister husband. So and she realized by the time she got to like 16 or 17, because he was like 32, you know what I'm saying, that it wasn't the right thing to do. So she started kind of winging herself out of the situation. Right. And guess what she did, First Cuz?
Let me guess. She probably got pregnant from him?
Nope. She didn't do that. What she did was, he had a brother that was knocking brothers out in the neighborhood. He was kind of old Billy Badass. It was down there back in the day. Dr. Feelgood can remember New Jack City, Wesley Snipes with that cocaine when it first hit back in the 80s. So she fell in love with a thug. She needed somebody, First Cuz, to beat his ass to keep him off of her. So she married him. Ain't that something? And so they went on to have kids. They had about 4 kids. And I met her way down the road after the kids, but I fell in love with her because of her heart, because she was giving and all of that. And he was much older than her. He was like about, when he started dealing with her, he was 32, she was like 16. So it was a big 30-year gap in there. So she fell in love with that. And then, make a long story short, I ain't gonna take up all the time, but it just goes to show you sometime, like the ladies on the panel tonight, it's funny when you can fall in love with the abuser.
Yeah.
And there you go.
That's the sad part about it. And the studies show, and Dr. Feelgood is going to touch on this as well as with Dr. Fabulous. The studies show that a lot of times when people are abused, it start at a very young age. And ironically enough, they end up being attracted to the same type of person that abused them. And if you even look in, let's say in Hollywood, you see a lot of the movie stars, they dated these young girls, say Elvis Presley. He married his wife when she was 15, 16 years old. Woody Allen, he married his girlfriend, I think she was his housekeeper, when she was 14, 15 years old. Married, and they continued to have that relationship. Okay. I know we talked about before the show came on, we was talking about R. Kelly. You know, he did his thing. A lot of times people are being, taken advantage of, and then the young ladies, they grow up and they are attracted to the same type of people that actually violated them. At this point in time, we're going to go ahead and pass the mic to Dr. Fabulous. But first, I want to make sure you check into the chat box. All the questions are being repeated in the chat box. If you found someone that you want to connect with on the panel, we're asking that you send them a direct message. Leave your phone number with them. Make a connection with them. Dr. Fabulous, come on and talk to us.
Good evening, everyone. I was just sitting here listening and I kind of got emotional. I was like, wow. And I thank God I've never gone through that. But my story is a little different. I met an older lady and she was from New York, Dr. Feelgood. She was from New York. And this lady is 70 years old. And she told me how she was abused as a child. She was put in a dog cage. And during the time, her age saga, she was molested. Her mom sold all her brothers and sisters to perform sexual acts in front of people. And her mom would like have gatherings in their house and said the New York police was in on it and everything. But if you ever want to read something that will just tear your heart out and just make you really think how good God is to keep you from situations like that, her book, she wrote a book and it's called Through the Eyes of a Child by Gloria Christ. Yep. I have to just really give you all that nugget to go Amazon and just read it. I got to chapter 3 and I couldn't read no more because I couldn't even believe that a parent would do this to a child. And she's 70, no, she just turned 73. And I had an interview with her one-on-one. And she gave me the book for me to read and I couldn't even read it. That's how deep it was. But if you all want to read it, because she says she have lived through some of the most treacherous things you could ever imagine. And that's Through the Eyes of a Child by Gloria Christ. Now, my question, and some of the ladies touched on it, have you ever been emotionally abused? It's not always the physical, but it's the emotions. And I can't say that I was ever emotionally abused or anything, but I look at people that's close to me, and that the lady said that you can kind of see it on a person when they going through, but they put up a shield that everything is hunky-dory, everything is good at home. And you like, really? Because I'm seeing through your shadow or your facade that you're trying to put on. I see that I have a hand up. Now, I don't know, we got so many guests in tonight, I can't see everybody. But I see one hand up and it's Miss Gina. Miss Gina, go ahead and shed light on whatever you would like to tell us about this evening. And as I said, this is a very touchy subject and it can get a little emotional. I ain't gonna tell y'all I had a box of Kleenex here, but I'm trying to keep it together. And I'm gonna turn it on over to Miss Gina and let her tell us what she would like to share.
Hey, everyone. To answer your question, Dr. Fabulous, I will say, and hello first, because I went through all four, technically. I went through the verbal, the emotions, the physical, and the mental. And I first cuz heard a little bit about my story on actually on Monday. He heard a little bit of it. And I was with a gentleman for it was 3 years. And the first year it was perfect. He was we all say that the woman or the guy that we prayed for. I felt that. I felt he was just perfect military. But at first I got the warning signs, but I avoided them because I saw how verbally abusive he was to certain people, including his mother. And I should have took off running right then and there, but I was more in the denial. Well, it didn't happen to me. He hasn't been mean to me. And I stayed. And after a year and a half of being together, he proposed. And right after he proposed in my home, he came over from work. It was not even 3 to 5 minutes. I took a minute to think about it because I saw like I said, I saw his actions. I saw how the way he was verbally. I saw how mentally controlling he was. When I wouldn't answer him, he would get dead in my face and start yelling and screaming. And I started to kind of, be silent a lot. And people saw that, but I just kept pressing forward. And the day that he asked me to marry, I kind of took my time and I was like, well, it's just something he's going through. It wasn't even 3 to 5 minutes later, he banged my head up against my pantry door in my kitchen because I took too long to answer him. And nor did I give him actual eye contact when I said yes. So 3 years of, you'd be amazed of all the stuff that I went through within the 3 years with women coming to my home. He's sleeping with women in my home. He's physically abusing me in front of them. They didn't call 911. They didn't even help me. They didn't go in the kitchen and grab nothing to stop him. And after that, it was either I can sit there and watch or I go in the kitchen and cook something for both of them. So I went through all of that. And I went through the point he dislocated my knee. And the emotional part was the yelling and the screaming every single day, and the fear that if I did not do what he said, that I was going to get hit. I went to work with knots all over my skull. Me having to put heavy makeup. I really don't wear like light makeup, but this time I had to double dose it, triple dose it, just to hide scars. Some days I couldn't barely walk because I was like hurt. I was sore, body sore for being thrown up against a wall or head getting bashed left and right. But the emotion part came in was for 3 full years. I went through that to the point none of my family knew. Not one single person did not know that I was physically being abused because like you said, I put that mask on when I was around family because out of fear, I didn't want my family hurt. And out of fear, I didn't, I had a 2-year-old. So I didn't want my child being hurt. I didn't want my family being hurt. So I would mask it to the point I could not mask it anymore, to the point it sent me to the hospital. Mm-hmm. And when it sent me to the hospital, my mom asked me, she said, what's going on? And I said, nothing's wrong. And she said, yes, it is. She said, why are you here? And so that's when I said for 3 years, and my whole, like my sisters, my brothers, they was like, 3 years you kept this from us? Like, we didn't know. Like, you didn't give us no sign. You didn't give us no, like, you didn't come over and say, I'm gonna just spend the night. You didn't give us nothing to let us know that you were being abused for 3 years straight. And I told him, I said, I was scared out of fear. I didn't want y'all hurt. And my mom, on that particular day, she said, you will not go back. Mm. And the day that it happened, at gunpoint, he put a gun in front of my family and told me to come across the street. And my mom, and I was actually still in love, still wanted to say, okay, this is just something that he's going to go through. It's going to be okay. We're going to get through it. And it was just something in me that I had to come to grips with as a child of being abused. I had to come to grips with that to move out of this situation.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask a quick question, man? I'm sorry. So when he pulled out the weapon on your people, he did it from across the street?
We was like, it was a little small neighborhood that I was in. It was a townhome complex. And I was like right in the middle of the street, but he was actually in my driveway. So my mom, we were kind of a little distance from him. And I told my mom, she was like, don't walk in that house. She said, because I tell you, if you walk in that house, I'm burying you. That's what my mother told me. She said, do not walk in the house. I said, well, it's my house. She said, no. So we stood kind of, I said, maybe a good 50 feet away from him. And he pulled the gun out and he said, get over here. And I was like, and my feet started to move. and my sister grabbed my left arm, and my mom grabbed my right. My mom said he would have to kill all of us before I let my oldest child walk across this street and he kills you. She was like, absolutely not. So he said, he kept saying it, and he kept waving the gun around. Police finally showed up, and police said, ma'am, is there any more guns in the house? I said, there's 3. I said, there's an AK-47. He has a 9mm. I said, then there's another one, a military gun that's there in the house. I said, the last time I noticed the AK-47 was up under the couch. I know for one, the 9mm, he's been waving it around, telling me to come across the street. And so I had to tell them that. At first I didn't. And like they told me, if their officer go in the house and he gets shot, I'm going to be held responsible, because I knew there were other guns in that house. So we were, he told me, the officer did tell me I did a good thing by not going across the street, because I could have died, because they did pull the gun out on him, and they did get his gun that he was waving around, and he did get arrested. But the fact was, what really brought me to reality, that I was still willing to go across that street to still be with him, knowing I just left the hospital. So I had to sit back and ask myself, not what was wrong with me, but it had to be something deeper that I was missing within myself, that I needed as from a father love, for me to feel like I needed this particular type of love to stay in it and be willing to take maybe 5 more years, 6 more years. No, I don't know. But I had to find what was inside myself. And what the hospital told me was, she said, if you do decide to go back, she gave me different warning signs. She said, if you can't talk to nobody, she said, put a dot in the middle of your hand. And it's in the palm of your hand. You put a little, you put a blank circle, and you can go to any hospital, any police office, and that they automatically know what that means. You don't have to say anything. Another sign that a lot of Canadian women that they are really supporting in Canada is, you hold your hand up, you put your thumb in the middle, and you close it. That is a sign for abuse, that you're being abused. If your spouse is in the middle of in the house with you, and you're on a Zoom call with your manager, you hold up your hand, you do this, and you close it. Somebody will notify the police to come to your home. So
well, I appreciate, oh my goodness, as I said, this is a lot of knowledge being fed, and the strength that you endured, and you're still here. God is a good God. And like you said, what was it that made you want to walk back across that street? But I understand it's nothing like a mother's love, because she's willing to go through it with you to keep you from going back to him. And ladies and gentlemen, now it's not just women that's abused. There are some men that's getting abused, but they won't say anything about it, because I have a cousin. I'm not going to put him on blast, but God bless him. I'm going to just tell him like that. God bless him. I see I have another hand up, Miss Tracy.
It was Sam. It was Sam. Sam, too
I'm
much.
sorry.
He was
Go
next.
ahead,
Then
Sam,
Tracy,
too
then
much.
Johnson.